I think the first match you kind of were talking to me about off the air was the Street Profits against Solo and one of the Usos. Who was it? Jimmy, I think. Jimmy Uso,
Yeah,
right?
Jimmy Uso.
Jimmy Uso.
Sikoa.
So this is all brand new. I have no idea what we're doing. So what do you want to do, man? Do you just want to get into the match? And like I just literally have watched it right now. You have some notes you want to talk about? I'm sure the people have already seen it. We're a week late. Last night's Raw just happened. We are kind of a week late on this. Maybe if we do this in the future, we'll try to be more to the up to date matches, so to speak. But what the hell? It's our first time, man.
Sure, man. Let's swing it, brother.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
What do you got on this match? So when I started watching it, I saw them out in the ring, Solo and Uso cutting a promo because they're building up. Obviously, something's going to happen, at WrestleMania. And if you watched last night, some of it started unfolding a little bit more. And then the Street Profits came out, so we started a match, a tag match there.
Yeah, man. Well, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth, because what I was going to say was that Jimmy Uso and Sikoa were in the ring. Obviously, they were talking about their stuff and everything about Cody Rhodes and how their tribal chief, Roman Reigns, isn't going to be there till Friday Night SmackDown. And that's when the Street Profits kind of interrupted. And, lo and behold, they got into some fisticuffs. And and pretty much the match started right off the bat with punches, kicks, stomps, a super kick. And that's kind of like where I began my notes right off the bat, because, they started off fighting, back and forth and stuff like that. And then they came back up in the air. And this is one of my pet peeves. I kind of want to point it out to everybody, is that when the bell rung, is that they locked up, and one of my pet peeves from the mind of Mondo, so to speak, and I know I put this on Twitter a couple times, was that you can always wrestle then fight, but you can't fight then wrestle, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did when the bell rung was that they locked up right away. And they could have easily gotten to that spot right off the bat where, him ducking, behind, and still got into the fisticuffs and doing what they were going to do and stuff like that. But they didn't have to do the lockup, so to speak, because that just tells me it's wrestling, if that makes sense.
And this was the first match, though, of the night, too, wasn't it?
This was the first match of the night. Yes, that is correct. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's a little pet peeve of mine, and just as the match was getting on, and all the body of work and everything like that, that was excellent in my opinion. Obviously all the guys can go that's involved in the match and everything, but if you just look at the little things, right, is that there was no selling from the reactions from either partners to what was going on in the ring. And I see that in a lot of tag matches, especially in that today, is that everything that's going on in the ring and stuff like that, the people that are not involved on the outside are not acting and reacting to what's going on in the ring, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah,
so
totally.
You know what I'm saying? So if I'm taking a punch and you know what I mean, and I'm the tag partner that's taking that punch, and I'm not registering or selling to what's going on, to what's happening in the ring, so why should the people care or vicariously live to what's going on in the ring? You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
I think John Cena late in his career, when he comes back and has done some different tag matches where they basically have him on the apron until the comeback, I think he is one of the best at getting the crowd to have sympathy for his partner in the ring. He's always out there pantomiming and looking in pain and trying to get, reaching the hand out and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to be, if you're a baby face and you're if your partner is selling in the ring, so to speak, you know what I mean? Is if I'm not caring or feeling what's going on with my partner inside the ring, then why should the people care? I mean, it's such a little attention to the detail aspect of that, but it's it kind of brings everything full circle. You know what I mean? It's if my partner's getting beat up in the ring and I'm not really giving two craps about them, then why should the people really kind of vicariously live through that and feel that and want to get emotionally involved? You know what I mean? So it's just a little small detail, but that's something I noticed at the very aspect of the match.
Did you have any notes on the finish of the match?
The finish of the match. I do, but I can get there if you don't mind.
Oh, you're not there. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Go. Yeah, keep going, man. Sorry.
Something that I thought was very smart, because I mean, honestly, I don't want to just, obviously just I don't want to dog the match or come across as I like to point out the good things too.
Right.
of the match, But there was one point in the match where Jimmy had one of the Street Profits in a chin lock, which brought him back, and he brought him back down. So like the babyface was working his way up, and then he brought him back down because I guess he got the Iggy from the ref that they were going to a replay from the pay-per-view and stuff like that. So, and this is something that I've learned, from working the Highlanders, actually an Unforgiven pay-per-view, was, there was a point in time, like we were just trying to get our shit in, we're getting our spot, it's a spot, and everything like that. And they're trying to replay everything that we were previously doing. But they couldn't replay. I mean, they were replaying it, but we were doing something else. So it was like the people's attention was going from A to Z to A to Z, they didn't know what to watch and stuff like that. But something that was very smart from Jimmy's, when he brought him back down, he stayed in the hold. He let the replay go to where it needed to go. And then when that replay was done, they worked their way up, and then they kind of continued their match. So the attention was able to stay on point A to point B, back to point A, so as never to miss any point of the match, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. So how often is that always on the fly on the replays? Do you guys know that? Do they give you the Iggy on that? Do you just have to watch? How do you know that in the ring?
Generally speaking, if you know you do something good, you probably have a feeling that you're gonna go to replay and kind of like reminisce that a little bit, But you will get an Iggy from the referee, so to speak, saying like, "Hey, we're gonna replay that back." So if that happens, make sure you grab a hold, stay small, so they can turn that attention there to the commercial break or whatever the fact. And then obviously when that's over, the referee will give it the Iggy back, and then you can continue doing what you were doing. But the attention is not divided. You know what I'm saying? Cool. Yeah. So, but so many times, like, and I learned this firsthand, is from the past, I'd be doing spot at the spot at the spot. And it's like, well, they're replaying this. And it's like, now they're missing this. And it's just like, the crowd doesn't know where to divide their attention to. You know what I'm saying? So something that I was able to pick that up, right off the bat from watching that match. I was like, oh, that's very smart. Good job, Jimmy. You
nice.
Know what I mean?
That's good insight right there. That's something the viewers, including myself, probably don't think about at all.
Yeah. And why shouldn't you? I mean, like, they don't know. They're not in the ring. They don't know, but that's just something I learned from experience. So I thought that was a good job right there. My next little tidbit there was, and again, this is flavor of ice cream. This is not right or wrong. And maybe Vaughn, you can give me your insight on this. But to me, I'm always a fan when the heat spot happens, that there's actual heat that actually happens, like the heel actually cheating, so to speak, to gain the advantage, because the baby faces have been getting over, doing what they were doing and stuff like that. But in this case, in this spot specifically, there was a leapfrog with a blind tag, and then there was a clothesline delivered, and that's what kind of changed the momentum, if that makes sense. And now you can argue, okay, that they're brothers, so that maybe that they're a little bit more in tune with each other. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, I kind of give that one a pass. That's me being nitpicky, but I kind of want to get your take on that.
No, so it was so it was a blind tag with the heels that then put them over the baby faces?
Yeah, there was a leapfrog. Yeah. The baby face went underneath. There was a blind tag made, and then bam, the heel came in with the clothesline, and that's what changed the momentum.
Yeah, it's almost like they outsmarted him, out-wrestled him. Not.
Yes, and that's why I wanted your opinion, Vaughn, because you can look at it like that, like the heels kind of outsmarted the baby faces, but you can also look at it like, okay, they're brothers, the bloodline, etc. So
yeah,
they're a little bit more in tune with each other, so it's like, it's a give or take. I guess that's like a flavor of ice cream, so to speak, like I said before.
I don't really like it. No, I would rather see some sort of, cheating, obviously, or at least not. To me, what you just described, and like I said, I just watched it, but some of it I was talking to you, whatever. No, I don't really like that, even if they're brothers. To me, my personal opinion, no, it seems like they out wrestled or outsmarted the baby faces to get the advantage. Right. And if you do that without any kind of, cheating or going behind the ref's back or double teaming or whatever, I guess it's kind of a double team, but no, I don't like it.
Okay. Fair enough, man. Again, like flavor of ice cream, I can see it from both different ways, but I agree. I'm always a favor of the heels actually cheating to get the advantage. That's what kind of changes the momentum.
Yeah.
Therefore, that's when you start your heat.
Hey,
Like
Charles
if
the
you're
Hammer
attacking
Evans
him
is in
on
the
your
house
baby
right
face.
now.
What's that?
Charles the Hammer Evans is in the house right now.
Oh, the hammer. What's up, baby?
Hammer baby, what's happening?
What's going on, brother? All right, moving forward. So we're in the heat right now. So now we're getting ready to go home. And this is actually one of my pet peeves going forward too. And I'd like to kind of talk about this a little bit. So Crawford is the one that's selling a little bit here. And the match isn't very long. But as the heat's going on, there's a spot in the match where he gets up, runs, jumps to deliver a flying elbow on Sikoa at the conclusion of the heat, which then goes back down to selling. Now, in my opinion, it just to me that just kills the heat, because it's like if you're getting heat on a guy, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden he's got the energy to roll and jump and do a flying elbow onto the heel and then go back down selling, to a double down. It's just like, well, why do you need your partner to begin with, right? I just think it's one of those things where the baby face should always be on the defensive, acting, reacting, being crawl through the legs, freaking, out of desperation, then try to make a tag, to kind of build that hot tag, so to speak. But to deliver an offensive maneuver, and it's one of those things you see in all tag matches, in my opinion, these days, and that's just one of my things there.
I absolutely hate that.
No, there was just,
Almost everybody does it.
yeah,
I think they try to make it like I think the idea of it when it started happening all the time, people were like, "Oh, it's out of desperation." Like out of desperation, I hit this, and then I go back down selling. But these are way too big of moves. They're too big of offensive moves. Like you said, he went running and hit. If you have all that energy to go run across the ring and do a flying forearm, then
yeah.
just tag out, or you
Now
don't need your
I
partner,
think
like you said.
in my opinion, they could have set it up a little differently because I do think there's those acts of desperation maneuvers where it's okay, but to roll, to be able to jump and deliver a perfect freaking back elbow and then go back down selling for no reason, I think that's just a little bit out of my realm, so to speak.
Yeah, it kills
Now,
the heat. The heat's
I
gone.
remember, I remember the match that I recall is that he super kicked. Was Oh, what was his partner?
Which one? Solo or the Street Profits?
It's Street Profits, the guy making the comeback.
Yeah, I can't remember the name.
But anyway, he super kicked him off the apron. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like they had that moment where his facials, and he got really pissed and he's angry and all that stuff. He's making his way up. He could have went for the super kick. He have him jump down. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then he turns around doing that one step, turning into the baby face and have him backdrop him out. And then they go back down selling. I think that's a little bit more justifiable. Then you can still have that moment with those facials, like he tried to freaking kick me in the face. If it's not happening, desperation backdrop. I think that's a little bit more justifiable and okay. And then have the moment where the heel tags the heel, baby face tags the baby face, and now we're off to the races. If that makes sense. You know what
perfect.
I'm saying?
Let me ask you this question. All these things
Yes.
that you're talking about, you've been there, you've done that, you've been in this spot. Who ultimately has the say on all these little details that you're talking about? Are these things already laid out for you from an agent? Do you guys work on it together? Like who has the ultimate say on all these little things?
Well, honestly, from my experience, man, it's just like, okay, whoever's involved in the match, like we get with our producer, and then the producer goes, okay, guys, you got like 6-8 minutes, whatever, like that. We go put our match together, and then we get with our producer, and then the producer usually works out the nicks and crannies, you know what I'm saying? And then the producer has the final say, or he'll bring it to Vince or whatever like that, and Vince will give the okay, and then we'll take out what we need to take out, and then we'll go through what we need to go through and everything like that. So that's pretty much how it's laid out.
But even the detail on the roll flying forearm, like is that something that's approved, or is that just not even brought up, that little detail?
Man, honestly, that's probably an afterthought, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's okay.
I mean, well, I've had matches that were pretty laid out, and we would bring it to our producer and we would go out A through Z. This is what we have, and then he'll be like, okay, X-nate this, maybe this instead, or yeah, boys, that sounds good, man. Just go out and do it, and then we come through the back and usually get thumbs up or thumbs down, pretty
Yeah, I
much.
just wondered today, like if somebody like you or a Cornette or a Rip was actually backstage and somebody, somebody said, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do," and they just said, "No, you're not doing that. Like, let's do a match where you keep the heat. You have a true hot tag. I know Cornette gets hot about that all the time, that there are no real hot tags anymore. And just to see how something like that would work and everybody does the same damn thing. Everybody does
Yeah,
that spot where the guy taking the heat makes an offensive maneuver. Almost
yeah.
every single match that happens.
Oh, it happens all the time.
I would
I
just
see
love
it
to
on
see it
every
if
time
it.
I watch. Every time I watch AEW or Raw, and there's a tag match going on, I guarantee you someone's going to get a big offensive maneuver, and then they'll go back down selling for no reason. Because
I know. I would love to just see it go not that way and see what would happen. Like. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, man.
No, you're not, dude. Hey, man, this is your show, brother. I'm just happy to be on it, So, but I'm glad you see that though, because that's something that I've always noticed in like so many tag matches and going forward. And it's just like, well, if you have the energy to do all that, and then just go down something, it's like it just doesn't make any sense.
My thing has always been, if you have the energy to do all that, why not just run over and tag your partner?
Exactly.
I mean,
That my point exactly. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. But I don't know. It just seems that's the trend, and people replicate it because that's what they always see. And I don't think they were ever taught otherwise, I guess, if you have to ask for my opinion.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway, moving on. All right. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So Sikoa is nowhere to be found in the comeback. Been in control for about 2.5 minutes in the heat. He took one elbow, which was that move before the hot tag was made, and then he was just laid on the mat and never seen until shortly thereafter the comeback. I would have liked to seen him get bipped off the apron before Montez. That's his name, Montez, making the comeback. Especially because they've been protecting him, so to speak. So they've really been protecting Sikoa, and you can tell, a little bit before the match how he would take a drop kick, go down to his knee, and really like earning, to work his way down and stuff like that. And then he kind of just took an elbow, right before the hot tag, and then it was never before seen up until like maybe about a minute and a half into the comeback. And then I think there was like a kick off the apron to him onto the floor. I would have liked to seen him get involved in the comeback a little bit more, just to kind of keep it a little bit more of a tag flow, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah. And one of my things here is the back tags, they got to go. It's a hand-to-hand tag. Never mind with the the foot tags or the back tags, hand-to-hand tags. And I think that's an official tag, and that's, in my opinion, what they should do going forward.
Yeah, I wonder where that ever came from. Again, you were there. Like, is that ever discussed? I mean, I guess that's just behind the scenes in WWE. That's just accepted.
Yeah,
obviously.
It's been a hot minute since I've been there, Vaughn. But honestly, I've always understood, and the way I was understood from James E. Cornette and Danny Davis, the way I was taught is an official tag is hand-to-hand contact. And anything other than that is that it's not an official tag. So, and there's ways to go about it too. It's like, I see people like even today, like when they're in a babyface shine, they're exchanging arms, going back and forth on a tag, and they're still tagging each other's backs and stuff like that. It's like, man, like it takes a second, not even a second, to just trap the guy's arm, extend your hand, boom, make an official tag, adjust, and then transition accordingly. And that's something I never understood, but I think that needs to go back to and that's wrestling 101. Maybe I'm just a little bit old school thinking that way, but I just think that's, to me, an official tag.
I mean, that's wrestling. I just remember as a kid watching Dick the Bruiser's wrestling. They always had the actual rope off the turnbuckle, and they emphasize having that hand on the rope and having the tag with the other hand every time. And even as a 5-year-old kid, I knew that was the rule. I knew that's how you had to tag. And
yeah, man, hold the tag rope, both feet on the ground, on the mat, I should say, and over the top rope with the hand extended, hand-to-hand contact. That's the official rules, and I think those rules need to be enforced, especially in the tag match scenario.
It just kind of surprises me that Vince, and maybe even trickle down to Triple H and those guys, don't go back to that, or don't enforce that, or don't emphasize that, or just, gotten away from the basics. And maybe, when it went to sports entertainment, part of that was just out the window. Like, hey, we're sports entertainment now. We're not a sport. So,
Yeah.
we're not going to enforce the rules as much. Or maybe they don't even know or care. I don't know.
I've wondered that myself sometimes. Sometimes I just feel like that maybe that psychology is just a little bit lost,
Yeah.
and they're just all about creating just action movies, and as long as it's entertaining and it comes across as such on TV,
Yeah.
and that the people are entertained, in accordingly in that type of fashion, then just who cares anymore? But again, I don't know. I'm a little bit out of the loop. I could be wrong on that, but sometimes that's the impression I get.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah. But all in all, good business, good match. The body of work, very sound. And I guess we'll move on to our next match. You want
But
to
there was
discuss
no, let's get to
Deadpool?
the finish now. There was no cheating in the finish either, was there? Wasn't it a straight Samoan
Um,
spike? I think I just saw, wasn't it?
yes, it was correct. Well, actually,
So,
there was a blind tag made, and which was very clever. I thought actually how they went into that specifically because I think it could have still had some heat on the finish, but just kind of the way they went into that, I was actually okay by how the Samoan spike went off.
but there was no, if correct me if I'm wrong, there was no cheating in the heat or the finish, correct?
Not the heat spot or the finish. No, there was not. Nope. No. So
Okay.
yeah, but
Now it was the first match, but still, it was kind of a I don't know, important match. What's the word I'm looking for? Like main guys. It wasn't like your typical, two wrestlers going at a singles match, getting the crowd warmed up. It was, it's a bloodline. So it was already, no matter who the bloodline was, it was the bloodline. So it was already a bigger name match. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So even though it was the first match, I still think there should have been some sort of cheating either in the heat spot or the finish. But
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
but there wasn't.
anytime I'm a heel, the first thing I'm thinking of is how do I cheat to get the advantage? As far as to get one up on my baby face. I think they did a good job of making the baby faces. Especially with Montez coming off of the big baby face kind of rub or push you want to
Yeah.
put off the pay-per-view and everything like that. So for them to be put in a match was kind of like with the bloodline was just kind of giving them the rub, so to speak. But them having a good solid match, I thought it was really good to start off the show. And but yeah, I would have liked to see maybe definitely cheating to get the advantage for the Heat. I wouldn't have gone clever, so to speak, on the Heat spot and the finish. But
Right.
it's one of those things if you want to argue that they're brothers and they're on the same page, so to speak, because of that aspect, I can buy that for the finish because I've seen spots where the Andersons have done that and stuff like that because they're brothers and everything. And that kind of correlated with me and translated me, and to me, that kind of like unfolded in the end to where everything kind of made sense in the end. So,
Even though those two are brothers, they haven't probably tagged for at all, hardly.
well, I think like Sikoa only kind of came into the mix only recently.
Yeah,
It was
right. Yeah,
mostly
yeah. That's
Jimmy
what
and
I'm
Jay.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy and Jay have mostly been the tag team, and then
Yeah, for like 15 years. The other two have
exactly.
been together for 15 minutes. So
Yeah.